Hi friends, Smitha. I am glamsmitty on Instagram. Some of you at least have found your way to my YouTube channel from Instagram. I actually started my channel about half a year ago. I was mostly uploading shorts. As many of you know, content creation takes a long time, so I haven't really gotten a chance to kind of dip my toes more into doing YouTube videos, but I was super inspired to do this because I wanted to have a little bit more chance to talk about a brand that I'm super excited about who's coming out with a new palette soon. It's called the Rogue Palette, and this is from Fantasy Cosmetica. Some of you may know Fantasy Cosmetica is about a year old now. We're coming up on almost the 1-year anniversary of Fantasy Cosmetica. And I've been working with them pretty closely from the very beginning. This is as the name implies, it's sort of a fantasy-based brand, and a lot of the products come from, different fantasy-inspired themes. There's no like one specific source of inspiration. A lot of the palettes come from many sources of inspiration in fantasy so that they can kind of be approachable to a lot of different people. And so this is the 4th palette that they've come out with. I will say that I'm extremely biased because I love Fantasy Cosmetica, so I'll try to, take what I say with a grain of salt. But I am super excited about this palette. This is definitely my favorite of the 4 palettes that have come out. Jordan is the owner, and you can find her on Instagram as well. The website is fantasycosmetica.com. And anyway, so each of the palettes that have come out in the past are 9-pan palettes. This is also a 9-pan palette. I'll show you first of all, the details on these palettes is just something else. I think the artwork is so unique, beautiful, and then the color stories are all so well thought out. This color story, I think, I've already seen on Instagram how many people have been nuts about it, and I can totally see why. This is definitely like a beautiful spring color story, but it has a little bit of a twist. You get some dark matte shades in here. You have a total of 5 matte shades and 4 multi-chrome shades. What's different about this palette from some of the other palettes is that, or all the other palettes, is that Jordan got some feedback that people really love magnetic pans, myself included. I'm definitely, as many of you know, a single shadow lover. So I love having the option to take out each individual pan and use them in color stories, or just if I'm traveling and only want to take one or 2 shades. So I think that's really fantastic. And if you're curious and if you're not experienced with taking pans out of palettes, a tool that you can use, or in that I've used quite a bit, is a basically cosmetic magnet. You can look up on Amazon. They're called telescoping magnets, and they're basically magnets that are specifically used for this type of thing, and they're super useful. So some other things I want to tell you about the launch are that there are going to be 3 perfumes that come out along with the palette. And also, and that's a new product. She's never released perfumes before. And then also these, because these pans are removable, she is, Jordan, that is also going to be offering them as individuals. So I'm just gonna pull up the Fantasy Cosmetica Instagram page right now. And the matte singles are going to be available for purchase for $4.99 each if there was 1 or 2 shades that you were interested in picking up. And then the multi-chrome shades are going to each be available for $9.99. Influencer codes work on all the products. I do have a code that's glamsmitty. I'm going to put it in the description box below, but feel free to use somebody else's code. My friend Miles, also known as Multichromatica on Instagram, has a code as well as many others. I could gush on and on about how much I love this palette, but I will just say that from my experience using it so far, I've had a great time. The palette swatched beautifully on my arm. I actually filmed these looks on each eye that I'm going to show in a little bit here as well. I will say it's my very first time trying to do looks like this on camera, so bear with me. But if it says anything, despite the fact that it was my first time doing something like that, the palette was a dream to work with. The pastels show up on me. They build. All of the mattes have a quite buildable formula. I would say the matte formula is actually even getting better from what it was, and I had no issues with the previous palettes. But and I use them on unprimed skin, so no issues there. And then the shimmers also think they look stunning. I just used kind of what I typically always use, which is NYX glitter glue, and I basically just tap the shimmers on the lid with my fingertip, which is also what I typically do as well. So I think what I'll do now is go ahead and zoom you in, show you the swatches. I've actually shared these swatches on Instagram as well, so if you prefer kind of seeing more content on Instagram, they're there. And I'll also go ahead and do some quick tutorials, talk through what shades I used, and zoom you in so you can see how the shadows performed in action on the eyes. And these are my swatches of the palette in regular indoor lighting. I mean, I can't get enough of this color story. Look number 1, starting off with Stealth on the inner corner. Totally just winging it, trying to stay in frame here. And then Subtle, the pastel purple on the outer part of the crease. Love how these two shades look together. On the outer corner, I place Cunning, which is the navy matte. Prepping the lid with NYX glitter glue all over. I tapped on sleight of hand on the inner part of the lid. Outer part of the lid was Deception, and I'm sorry that it was a little out of frame. And this is the completed first look. On to look number 2, placing Stealth on the inside of the lid into the crease. I think this is a great pastel matte. On the outer part of the crease in the outer corner, I used the shade Shadows. I built it up into the outer corner to build a little bit of smokiness there. I had no issues at all with blending either of these mattes. This is me just blending while trying to look in a mirror and stay in frame. Then I did the exact same placement of shadows, Stealth and Shadows along the lower lash line and connected it up to the crease shadow. I primed my lid with NYX glitter glue. And then all over the lid I used the shade Sneak Attack. I really love how dimensional this shade is. And this is my finished look. Alright, so now that I've had a chance to show you the looks that I created, I just want to wrap up with some final thoughts about the palette. I think you guys already know I love this palette. I love the vision of Fantasy Cosmetica. I think all of the releases have been super thought out, super well thought out. The color stories are unique to my collection, and yeah, I just love the direction that Fantasy Cosmetica is going. So I don't think I mentioned previously, the palette is going to be launching on March 1st. It will be available for $38.99. If you do use an influencer code, that'll knock off 10%. I will say I've seen the response to this palette on Instagram. I do think that it's going to sell out. So definitely check the Fantasy Cosmetica Instagram page for launch details so that if you are super keen to get this and right away, you can. Set an alarm, do what you need to do. That being said, this palette I've not heard is limited edition, so if you're on a no buy, low buy, anything like that, I think you're fine to wait for a restock too. So anyway, that's my final thoughts. Thank you for watching, bearing with me as my first time doing this kind of video, and I really hope that this video was helpful. All right, have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.